Hello tiny friends and welcome to Tiny Keyhole Minis. I'm Jolene and today is part 2 of this bedroom renovation. So I'm going to install the wall and you're going to get to see this transformation. I am also going to be adding a few details after I get all these pieces assembled. So I want to begin with the baseboard, and I am using my Gorilla wood glue to attach all the parts to the wall. But I want to thank you all for being here. I'm starting to feel a bit more comfortable talking to you all and being on camera, whereas in the beginning, my videos that I was making, I was a bit uncomfortable and very nervous. These days I am riddled with anxiety and I'm more of an introvert, but I am starting to become much more relaxed and comfortable with this, and not so much like somebody is watching me, even though many of you are. I am feeling more relieved. So thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoy this video. Now, I did end up with a few flaws, I'll say, like this gap here, and I did have to get a bit creative, and this is due to my let's see, my measurement challenged self, or being measurably challenged, or measuring challenged. Yeah, okay, so yeah, when it comes to measuring, I am very challenged. But I did add a footboard to help fill in some of this space, and that's okay because all the other doorways have a footboard, so it worked out. I'm not too worried about the larger gap. It's not very noticeable. But up on top, you'll see the door frame has gaps where the pieces are mitered. And again, that's okay. Now this part here, this section of the wall, is actually my favorite section of the wall because it looks really realistic. So I love that section. But you can see that really noticeable seam there where the two pieces are glued together, and the gaps between the pieces of the door frame. Completely okay. I have a great idea to cover that seam up, that line. And if you noticed in the tour, some of the doors are separated when it comes to the top of that frame there, and that's okay because in this old farmhouse there's drafts and moisture that gets in, and sometimes that will shrink the wood and separate the pieces, so I'm perfectly okay with that. But I am going to add a few more details now to this. But this is what it's looking like, tiny friends. Okay, so I've got some copper wire here, and I've got a 12-volt light that I've had in my stash. And I'm going to do something similar to what I did in the fortune teller room. If you've seen that, if you haven't, it's in my playlist. But I have taken the wire out of this light here. Now this is going to be a non-working light, but I will eventually add some lighting in this room here. And what I'm going to go for today is a bare bulb light, and I am not going to be using this piece here, this frosted glass tulip shade. I'll save this for maybe another light, or maybe I'll use it as a vase later on in the house. But I'm going to add some more detail to this light here, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a back base, a more decorative back base. Not too fancy, but just some more detailing to this, and I'm definitely going to tone this down some, so it's not going to be very gold and brassy anymore. Okay, so I've got some sticker embellishments from the Dollar Tree here, and I really love using these, so I am definitely going to look out for more of these. But you can use these for frames, for mirrors, for decorative pieces. You can add them to different furniture pieces. You can add them to your wall, but today I'm going to use them to make this little light here a little bit more decorative. You can do that as well. You can add these to working lights, non-working lights, and do something similar to what I'm going to do today. But right now I'm just going to play around and see what looks good. Now, none of this lettering is going to matter if I choose to go with one of these pieces, because it's just going to get painted and covered. So don't worry about none of that. None of that matters. You can always cover it up. But I'm just showing you here what it will look like if I were to go with a circular piece and give you some ideas. I'm going to use this heart-shaped key, and I'm going to see what that looks like. And I'm just going to pop off this gem here. Now, sometimes it's effortless and they'll pop right off, and sometimes you know, need to use a little bit of work here. But usually they come right off without any damaging to the embellishment there. So I'm just going to play a little bit, give myself some ideas, give you some ideas in case you want to try this for yourself, and show you what I'm doing here to try and figure out which one I want to go with. And of course, I would be cutting it off from the key stem that you see there. So just trying to figure it out, basically, tiny friends, on which one I want to go with. And this is what it would kind of look like if I use this piece. I probably would trim off those sides there. And then I like this round one here. This round one would look great in a different kind of scene. So, you know, just keep that in mind on what some of these could look like. And that would go great in like a little witch scene, or darker, or a goth scene, or something like that, maybe medieval. But not for my scene for today. But you can also layer these pieces together. So if I were to put that circular base there, if it's perfect, and I could give it more detail, a little bit more depth. So, you know, you can do something like this as well. I love using these embellishments, so I'm definitely going to be looking out for more. I need to go see if they have any new ones. And if you like to try something like this, the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to go with this piece here, and I'm going to cut off the sides, and I'm going to remove the inner parts there because they are not attached, so I won't be leaving those in there. Well, I'm going to give it a dry fit and see how it looks now that I've trimmed off those sides. And I like the way it looks. I think it's going to be fitting for this back room here. And I'm just going to use my Aleene's jewelry and metal glue to attach these two pieces together. And what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of this glue right on the back side of that light base there, and it'll stick really well for me. So I'm just adding it right around the edge here because there's nothing in the middle. It's been removed. And you can use some super glue. You can use probably use wood glue or tacky glue, but I like using this metal glue because this light is actually a piece of metal. But once I get it put on there in place, this is what it's looking like. And now I'm going to go in and try to match that light with the back piece here. So I again am going to use this alcohol mixed with acrylic, and I'm going to start with brown, and I'm just going to dab it on around the metal. Now I'm not doing the embellishment, I'm only doing the light part of this because I like the way that the embellishment looks, and I'm just going to try to match it as best as I can. So now that I've got my brown on there, I'm just going to take a little Q-tip here and try and soak up some of that has pooled inside that little dip part, that little bowl part there. And I'm going to add a tiny bit of black to this brown to create a darker tone, and then I'm going to go in with that as well. And I'm going to show you how this, just little bits of dabs, and it just spreads out but doesn't drip down. It just sticks right there. So this is a really great technique. And again, I'd like to thank Gretchen at Little Gretchen's Workshop for showing me this technique because it is my new fave versus the water mixed with acrylic. So I'll just clean up that little pool again with another Q-tip. And I think this is working out really well. It's matching perfectly to this base. So that's all I really have to do as far as aging this. So this is what it's looking like. And I'm going to go in and remove those inner parts and attach this to the wall. Now I can go ahead and do the same thing to this copper wire here and just age it up a bit, tone it down some before actually installing these two pieces to the wall. And while these two pieces are fully drying, I'm going to work on the curtain for the closet doorway. Now I have this strip of lace from an old shirt, and I'm actually going to leave the seam on this and fold it over, and this is going to be like my glue seam, so I can have something to attach it to the wall with and place my glue on. And I'm not going to be using my watered glue solution to add a draping effect to this. I'm just going to let it go naturally and just glue little spots here and there for the folds in the curtain. And I'll show you how I do that here in a bit. But Paper Era here is going to help me install this light. I'm using her to get an accurate height placement for the light because I still want the granny to be able to reach it to change out that bulb as needed. So I've got my Paper Era here, and if you've been following my videos, you've seen her help me in different ways so far, and you will see her help me in several other ways along this journey here. And she is very happy to do so. So thank you so much, Paper Era, for helping me. I am also going to be using this camera as my eye and my monitor here because I can't really see this side of the light. These rooms aren't very wide, they're very narrow and very deep, so I'm just going to allow the camera here to be my eye here. And I'm going to take a Q-tip with a little bit of water on the tip and just try and clean up some of this excess glue. Now it's going to take a little effort and a little bit of shifting this light around before it actually takes grip and stops moving around on me. But I'm just going in and cleaning up some of this excess glue here, and I'm noticing that that light bulb isn't really screwed in completely or straight. So I'm going to adjust that as well as I'm going along here and working on this little light. Okay, so I'm going to try and screw this in as best as I can. I didn't really notice this as much before I actually placed it on the wall until I really got close up and used that camera there for my eye. But I do end up getting it a bit straighter and screwed in there a little bit tighter so that it can be a little more complete here. Okay, so that's better. All right, so I'm just going to clean up this glue real quick, and I think it's sticking a bit now, but the glue is really fresh. I didn't give it time to tack up a little bit before I actually stuck it to the wall, which sometimes I remember to do so, and sometimes I'm just going with the flow. Okay, so now that we got this little light installed, I love the way it looks, especially along my favorite section of the wall there, where some of that crackle has really defined that mat board to be more realistic as far as now going from mat board to wood. But I'm going to install that wire piece here, and I'm going to run it from the top of the ceiling, from the top of that line there, all the way down to the side of the back piece. So I'm just trying to figure out how much I need and shape it a little bit to go around. Now this copper wire, it's stiff enough but super easy to bend and manipulate with my hands, so I don't have to use any tools to bend this around. But I have used my jewelry and metal glue for this, and you'll see my fingers sticking a bit because I do have to use my hands to try and press it down to flatten it out a little bit. So I don't mind, but it takes a little bit of effort, or a lot of bit of effort I should say, to get this into place. But once it starts to grip, it just attaches and takes hold. So you do have a little bit of window to move this around a bit and adjust it, make some adjustments, but once it really grips, it's good to go. So I'm just trying to get it exactly over that seam so it's not so noticeable. And I do end up getting it, and I'll show you what it looks like here in a bit. And you really don't notice the seam at all anymore. So yeah, very good idea to go with this. And it really does complete the look of this old bare bulb light here. But I will be also adding a push button switch for this light on the other side of the door frame. A little bit later, you'll get to see what I do to create that push button switch. So I have created the rod, and I added a jump ring on one end, which is this end here that you're seeing, a tiny little jump ring on the end for added detail. You're really not going to see the other end because it's going to be covered with the lace. And I kind of wish that the bigger gap was on the end where the lace is going to drape down, but it isn't. And again, that's okay. I really didn't want to cover up this side where the light is. So it's going to go on this side of the door, and I'm just using some tacky glue to attach it. And as I'm attaching it to the rod here, I'm actually pinching some pleats in the top part. And I'm creating some folds so that it looks like it's pleated up there at the top. And I'm just going to add some tacky glue in various spots here. I'm going to attach that seam that I showed you to the black part of the wall to glue it down so that it doesn't move. I'm not gluing the whole piece, I'm just doing a spot here and there. And I'm also going to be adding some on the inside to create a little bit of folds by pinching it together like so. And that's pretty much all this little curtain really needs. So I'm just going to straighten it up here and get it looking like it's draping naturally. Takes a little bit of playing, but I did edit a lot of it out because it's just a little bit of a tedious job here. So I'm just adding a little bit of tacky glue just to glue that down, and I am going to show you what this looks like in the end. I will be going in with my chalk pastels and creating some shading around the base of the light and around that wire and also around the door frame there. So I'm not going to be showing you how I do that, but you'll see the difference in the end. I just feel like it needs a little bit more shadowing and shading to bring those pieces out a little bit more. So I do go in and do that. But I just want to show you a little bit of what I'm talking about here with this curtain. I'm just placing a little bit of glue on the inside and just gluing down little bits and pieces, and maybe pinching the fabric together to create some folds. And I pretty much cut out most of this work here. So now I want to take the opportunity to thank you all for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this video today. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and let me know so in the comments below. I want to thank everybody that's subscribed. And if you have subscribed, or if you do subscribe, please don't forget to hit that top bell notification button so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. So this is after the shading and shadowing with the chalk pastels, and you can see the difference here. And again, I hope you all enjoyed this. Let me know what you think about this room in the comments below. I am so glad that I got to do this renovation here today with you all. But I feel like I just want to put my hand through that doorway there. I just feel like I need to put my hand through it, but there's a wall there, so I can't do that. But I hope it looks a little bit realistic and gives you the idea that there is really a closet there, even though this is the outside wall, so it's not exactly architecturally correct, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be on the inside. And now that this room is completed, I really feel like it's more of a back room, and I don't know if I'm going to keep this as a bedroom or not, tiny friends. I might turn this into her sewing dressing room. I just feel like that's where the sewing room needs to be placed, in more of a back room, but I don't know yet. If I decide to make the other room the bedroom, I'm really going to have to change that bedroom around because I don't like the wallpaper in there. So that might be happening. But as I'm looking at this beautiful parquet floor here, I believe it does not fit with this room, and I am going to have to go in and change that out next. So I will be doing a technique that I have used previously in another project and show you how I swap out this floor. I know this is a lovely parquet floor, but I'll be leaving it in some of the other rooms upstairs, like the hallway and the bathroom, but this definitely does not go with this look anymore. So a new floor is in store, tiny friends. I hope you like what it looks like. Let me know what you think. I love the new look of this room. It's very fitting, but it really does look like a back room now, and so it will most likely end up being the sewing room or dressing room. It really made sense to make this a bedroom before because the door was right near the bathroom, and for the granny that would be very convenient, but I really think I'm going to switch it out now. But tiny friends, thank you all for being here. Let me know how you feel about this room now. I'm sorry about the shakiness of the camera. I hope I didn't get anybody sick. And until the next time, tiny friends, you all have a lovely day. I will see you next year. Have a lovely holiday season. Stay safe. And yeah, see you next year. Bye-bye.